to the Timarim or to Te'enim, then it's going to be Asur. Washing is not really going to help. And it says the Mishnah, basically you have a din of Yain Nesech in your fruits, in your Te'enim, figs and Timarim, dates. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah, U'ma'aseh bebaitus ben zonan, she'evi grogrot b'sfina. This fellow was a story that he brought actually grogrot are dried figs. He brought it, v'nishtabra chavit shel yain nesech, and lo and behold, a barrel of yain nesech broke and everything poured on top of this poor guy's grogrot. V'nafal al gabehen, the yain nesech poured all over his dried figs. V'sha'al chachamim v'yitirum, and he asked chachamim. Chachamim said it's mutar. Now this, of course, is very stretched, because usually when you say halacha and you bring a story, the story is a supporting factor for the halacha that you just said. Over here, it's stira, it's a contradiction. The Mishnah says, if your yain nesech falls on top of tenim, which is figs, then it's going to be asur if it's benot and tam. It's a problem. And then brings this story from this fellow that the yain nesech got mixed with his figs, now dried figs, but figs nevertheless, and Chachamim said no problem, it's mutar. Says the Gemara, Zaklal. The halacha is, kol shebe hana'ato benot and tam. If you have not and tam, if you have a good taste from yain nesech left in what it got mixed with, then asur, then it's of course going to be asur, because now you have some level of yain nesech mixed with your food, of course it's going to be asur. And if you don't have noten tam leshevach, you don't have a good taste left, then it's mutar. Kegon chometz shenafal al gabe gerisin. And the example of the noten tam lepegam is if you have chometz vinegar, which again, classic vinegar, before we started coming up with vinegar from all kinds of things, classic vinegar is wine that went sour, right? So you have a yain nesech that became chometz is also asur b'hana'ah. So if you have chometz, which is yain nesech, essentially, and that fell into gerisin, it doesn't give a good taste at all. Right? It ruins the taste of gerisin. So therefore, noten tam lepegam is going to be mutar. So says the Gemara, ma'aseh listor. Now, I want to read to you when it comes to the top of the Samech Vav Amud Aleph, a Mishnah that talks about the Ta'arovit when it comes to the halachot of yain nesech. But for now, the basic discussion that we are having is, if something gets mixed and is enhancing the taste of what it got mixed with, then that yain nesech becomes important, because now it enhanced the taste of my food. So the whole food now is mixed with yain nesech in a way that halachically we have to reckon with it. But if the yain nesech got mixed with something that completely ruined its taste, it didn't enhance the taste, then it's much easier to say that it's batel, and we don't reckon with the yain nesech. And that's basically what the Mishnah is handling over here. And the Gemara right away says, wait a second. You brought a halacha that if yain nesech gets mixed with te'enim, with figs, it's going to be asur if you can't wash it away. And with te'enim, it's difficult to wash it away because it has opening from the bottom, and once something gets in, Hashem mirahim, right? Can't really wash it off. It's not like whole grapes that you could just wash it off and everything comes off. It gets inside and it's a problem. And then you're telling me that this fellow brought figs on a ship and a whole lot of yain nesech fell inside, and Chachamim said it's mutar. So it says the Gemara, ma'aseh listor. You're bringing a story to deny the din of the Mishnah that you told me, like just a line ago? Gemara says no. the Mishnah should be, it's said in a cryptic way, and this is what he should really say. Im noten tam lepegamhu. The Mishnah has to explain and delineate that when yain nesech gets mixed in a way that you can't wash it. In other words, the first din of the Mishnah is, if you wash it off like grapes that don't have any cracks, so wash it off and you're good to go. If you can't wash it, then it depends. Is it going to give taste that's good? Is it going to enhance the taste? Or is it going to ruin the taste? Says the Gemara, Im noten tam lepgamahu mutar. In other words, it's asur if it gets mixed with te'anim, with figs, but they're fresh figs. It gets in and it enhances the taste of the fresh figs. Then it's but if it's noten tam lepgam, but if you find a scenario in which the yain nesech does not enhance, but on the contrary, makes the taste worse, then it's mutar. Umaaseh, and the supporting factor for that din is this story, which is, even though that it is figs, but it is dried figs. And dried figs taste differently. The whole thing of dried figs is the way they crunch and the way they taste. You mix some yain nesech with it, the whole thing is going to taste horrible. So says the Gemara, Ma'asinami b'baitus ben zonen, shaya mevi grogrot besfina. He was bringing grogrot in a ship, v'nishtabra chavit shel yain nesech, and when the wine pours on dried figs, then you're going to have a noten tam lepgam. That's why it is mutar, because there the wine is not enhancing the ta'am, the taste of dried figs, and hence is going to be mutar. Because that's not considered you having hana'ah from yain as what hana'ah? You wish to Hashem that it was not there, the taste. It tastes horrible. So therefore that's not having hana'ah from yain nesech. But in a case that you do have hana'ah, then it would be asur. So says the Gemara, Hahu kri dechiti. It was a pile of wheat. The nafal aleha chavita de yain nesech, that a barrel of yain nesech poured all over it. And says the Gemara, Shar yeh Rava lezavuneh leovdei kochavim. Rava said, well, he cannot eat this because he has ta'am of yain nesech, or it's enhanced. He cannot really wash it because as the Gemara is going to say, it has a crack in the middle, and the break on the top and bottom could be a problem. But it's considered like it's cracked. It's not like wheat. Wheat is not like grapes that you could just wash it off. It's not as smooth outside. So once it gets mixed, we assume that this is already penetrated and is not in tam l'shvach, hence you cannot eat it. But said Rava, no problem. You can still sell it to the goy. You don't have to have a financial loss over here. Sell it to a goy. So says the Gemara, Rabba bar Livai asks Rava a bomb kasha. Says, wait a second. We learned in the Braita, Beged she'avad bo kilayim. If you have a garment that there is kilayim, shatnez in it, but it's not that the whole thing is shatnez, that you take one look at it and say, oh, this is semer upishtim yahdav. It's not a full shatnez, but there's one thread of linen running somewhere in this, and you know it. You know where it is. There's one, and that's all it takes to make the entire beged shatnez. Right? One stitch of a serious stitch could make it a problem. So you know that there's somewhere in this beged there's shatnez. So you're not going to wear it. You don't know where the shatnez is. Can you sell it to a goy? So says the Braita, beged sha'avad bo kilayim. If you have a beged that you lost the kilayim in it, you know it's kilayim, you don't know where it is to take it out. You should not sell it to a goy. And not only that, you should not make a saddle out of it for chamor, for a donkey, because the way the saddle is, you sit in it, basically, it warms you up. And if beged kilayim, you have it in a way that it contains your body and warms you up, it's a problem. It doesn't have to necessarily be only a beged, right? The story goes, by the way, that the Stipler Gaon, when he wanted to date the sister of the Chazon Ish, the Stipler Gaon was a tremendous matmid. He was learning every 3 days he would sleep, right? And sleep for a number of hours, and then he would learn. So he was taking a train to go date the sister of the Chazon Ish, and he had scheduled his plans in a way that on the train he would sleep. So from before already, he learned. He said, okay, I'm going to go on the train and sleep, and that will be my sleep. So he comes on the train, and where he had gotten the ticket, the cushions were like so cushiony, and you would sit, you would go in. And he was very concerned there's going to be shatnez inside. I don't know if it's shatnez. So he didn't go to sleep. And the whole day he was falling asleep when he was dating. And the sister of Chazon Ish came. He said, this guy, he's a batlan. He's the whole time was falling asleep. I'm not dating him anymore. Right? The Chazon Ish told him, I'm telling you, you give it another shot. This person is the person. And Chava, of course, we know the rest is history. Reb Chaim Kanievsky was the son of Stipler and the sister of the Chazon Ish. But that story of shatnez, it's not just what you wear, but something that contains you also will be, a lot of the og slippers and shoes are shatnez. That's something that you have to be mindful as well. Okay, so says the Gemara, you should not make it mardat lechamor. But you could use it as a tachlichin for a corpse, Lametim chofshi, like the pasuk says. Kevan shemet adam naaseh chofshi min hamitzvot. They don't have to keep shatnez, so you could make tachlichim for a dead person from it. Okay, so says the Gemara. Why can't you sell it to a goy? The goy doesn't have to keep shatnez. It's not asur ba'anah shatnez. Why in the world can I not sell it to a goy? Says Gemara, simple. Dilma ati lezabun Yisraeli. He's got to put it on eBay. Say, I bought this from this beautiful Jewish person, and or going to tell his neighbor, and they're going to buy. So, I saved my money to go shatnez check this thing. They're going to buy it from him, and there's going to be a problem. Hakanami. So this is Rav Bar Levi asking a kasha on Rava. Rava said you could sell this chitim, this wheat that yain nesech got mixed with. You could sell it to a goy. Rav Bar Levi says, wait a second. Why can't you sell in this brightam the shatnez to the goy? Because he may turn around and sell it to a Jew. Here also, the goy is going to buy the chitim from you and go to his next door neighbor and says, I just bought some chitim from the rabbi, right? So it must be Ashan and, Pat Israel, everything. So he's going to sell it to him, and there you have a Jew eating yain nesech, hence you should not be doing this whole thing. So says the Gemara, Hadar Sharlim, Rava retracted. He agreed with the kasha. He says, okay, you're right. So don't sell it to the goy as is in the state of chitim, but you know what you could do? Make bread out of it. Grind them up, make bread out of it, sell the bread in some back alley somewhere dark to a goy, when there are no cameras on, so no one knows that he bought it from a Jew. No one sees it. No one's going to believe him, even if he says he's got, because it's patakum now, right? If you sell bread, right? You remember? It's a little quick chazara on daf lamed vav and lamed zayin and lamed chet. If you sell a bread to a regular goy, a regular layman, no Jew would buy that from him because it's pat balabayit. It's not even pat palter. It's not even the bread of the baker. It's the bread of the household regular civilian that according to everybody is asur. So therefore, says the Gemara, lemitchinhu, ulmefinhu. You should grind them. You should bake them. But it's beninu leovdei kochavim shelo bifnei Yisrael, and sell them hiddenly to some goy, and then you're safe. No Jew is gonna buy them from you. So Rava says the point of the discussion is, I'm telling you, it's not asur behana'ah. You could process this, sell it to a goy, and you'll be good. Now, you tell me chitim, don't, fine, I agree with that. But you could make bread out of it, sell it to a goy when nobody's looking, and now nobody's going to believe him that this was a Jewish origin, and it's going to be asur for them to buy pat balabayit from a goy, and you're good to go. Says the Gemara, Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah that by yain nesach that falls on grapes that don't have any cracks, you could just rinse them, wash them, and you're good to go. But if they do have cracks, then asurot. Then it's asur. So says the Gemara, mevukaot in shen mevukaot lo. If they are cracked, if they are, they have holes in them, then yes. If not, no. Amar Papa Shani Chiti Ho'il Va'agav Siraihu Kimuvkaot Damyan. Gemara is asking a question. It says you have chitin, you have wheat, that the Gemara says if they get mixed with yain nesach, they're asur. Unless you go through a whole process of grinding them, kneading the dough, baking it, selling it hiddenly somewhere in the back alley to the goy, then you could get rid of them. Why can't they just wash them? Didn't we just learn in the Mishnah that if grapes get mixed with the yain nesach, you could just rinse them, wash them, and you're good to go? Why can't they just wash the wheat? So they don't have any cracks. Mara says, no, they do, because they're not as smooth on the outside. They absorb things, and because, again, this is the science of it is beyond my pay grade, but it says basically they have openings. They probably absorb things much easier than a grape that has like a waterproof outside area, and therefore it will be a problem. This is, by the way, something that halachically also is very relevant, because this is the whole concept of matzah shmura. Why is it so important to have matzah shmura? Because if you don't have matzah shmura, mishat ktsira, so long as the wheat is connected to the ground, they don't absorb anything, because they are not, they're growing still. They're part of the thing. They don't absorb water necessarily from outside. Even if they do it, they don't become chametz, because they're still growing live and attached to the ground. The ecosystem of it is really working with the plantation, and they don't become chametz. But as soon as they are harvested, or they completely grow in a way that they don't have any nutrition coming from the plant to the chitim, then they're basically on their own, and the water, the rain that gets on them could make them chametz, because it gets absorbed. Hence the importance of matzah shmura, which means the Jews go and under proper hashgacha, they harvest it in a time that is, you're not expecting any rain. It's completely dry outside. When they harvest it, they put it on a dry surface. It's basically safeguarded from that moment not to become chametz. Because what good is it if your chitim became chametz and then you make matzah out of them? The whole thing is chametz. To begin with, it was chametz, right? Hence the importance of matzah shmura, right? Now, hand matzah is it's a different discussion. You want to maybe have hand matzah for Seder night and so on, but those who are machmir on matzah shmura, the entire 8 days of Pesach, they are machmir, at least 7 days of Pesach, they are machmir on matzah shmura because of chashash chametz. So says the Gemara, therefore, chitim agav sirayu kemevukaot, they are considered like mevukaot. They're considered like they have cracks. They do absorb the yain nesach that falls on them, and hence it will be asur. The only way that you could deal with it is grind them up, knead them, bake them, sell them to a goy hiddenly, and then you will be good to go. So says the Gemara, Chamra da'atika be'invi divra kol benoten ta'am. Now this, you need a little bit of background in Ta'aruvot, and that is when you have a mixture of Isur veHeter, it really depends how it becomes batel, how it becomes nullified, really depends. It's a machloket in some aspects of it, but the basic rule is, if you have min b'sheinu mino, if you have two different kinds of food mixed with each other, then it's benoten tam. And then you go after whether or not there's tam, there's taste in it. If it's min b'mino, then it could be asur bekolshu. It could be asur with any, because you don't have taste, because they both have they're the same kind, and therefore min b'mino will be asur bekolshu. If you take a quick look at the Mishnah that we're going to have, this is going to be discussing Daf Ayin Gimel towards the end of the Masechta, in the Mishnah on top of the Amud, Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, says the Mishnah, Yain Nesach asur, v'asur bekolshu. Yain Nesach is asur, and the isur of Yain Nesach is kolshu. You have a little bit Yain Nesach mixed, the whole thing is asur, right? Now, yayin beyayin, umayim bemayim, bekolshu. If you have yayin gets mixed with yayin, or water that's asur, any water that for whatever reason gets mixed with water that's mutar, also is bekolshu, because it's min bemino, it's the same type. Yayin bemayim, umayim beyayin, but if you have prohibited wine mixed with water, or prohibited water mixed with wine, then it's going to be benoten tam. It's going to be needing taste. Without taste is mutar, right? Min she'eno mino, when you have something that's mixed with something else that's not its kind, it's more lenient, right? If you have no taste in it, then it will be mutar. So if you have a little wine that's asur mixed with water, and they cannot taste, it's so minute, they cannot taste the taste of wine in the water, mutar. But if you have a little wine mixed with wine, then the whole thing is asur. Right? Min b'mino, min b'she'eno mino. So that's one of the principles of Ta'aruvot. As we go, of course, we're going to spend a lot of time on it when we get to it. But for basic understanding of our next 10 lines of the Gemara, you need to have this aspect in mind. So says the Gemara, Chamra atika be'inevi divra akol benoten tam. If you have old wine does not taste like grape, right? And if that gets mixed with the anavim, with your grapes, the case of our Mishnah, yain nesach that pours on grapes, right? That if the grapes have some crack, the whole thing is asur, right? So says the Gemara, if you have old developed wine that does not taste at all like grape, that gets mixed with some grapes, according to everyone is asur. Why? Because it's min b'she'eno mino. And min b'she'eno mino, this is yayin, this is grapes, it's two different kinds, and hence if you if you have some yayin nesach getting mixed with it, it's going to be asur. So says the Gemara, meaning, but not the time. If he has taste, sorry about that. If you have taste, then it's asur, right? If it doesn't have taste, if you have some of the grapes and they don't taste like wine at all, it's mutar, but not the time.
So even if you don't wash it off?
No, you wash it off, of course. Of course you wash it off. If you don't, for sure you're going to have taste on top of it. No, you wash it, and there's something that got mixed. The little mashu has gotten mixed with the thing. So if you have the grapes, you're like, this tastes like wine, right? And then it's going to be a problem. But if a goy, you have like and this is whole sugya in chulin, in Mesechet chulin, how can you taste it, right, but it's asur for you? You have a goy, whatever it is, and so, someone that's expert in tasting tells you there's no taste of wine in this. That is mutar. Benoten tam. That's according to everyone, because according to everybody, wine and grapes, old wine and grapes, is min b'she'eno mino. It's two different types. But says the Gemara, Chamra chadta be'invi, if you have fresh wine from the gat, right, from the press, from the wine press, in the initial few days, it still tastes like, grapes. It's grape juice, basically, fermenting grape juice. If you take that, and that yain nesach got mixed with my anavim, Then, says the Gemara, it's going to be a machloket. Abaye amar b'mashu, Rava amar b'noten tam. Abaye said it's b'mashu. Why? Because Abaye tells you that anything that's min b'mino and min b'sheino mino means taste. Min b'sheino mino means taste. Two things that taste the same. That's how you determine its kind. Min b'mino, one kind in its own kind, it's after taste. Even though that this is called wine, that's called grapes, I don't care about that. If they taste the same, almost, it's min b'mino. So says Abaye. B'mashu. I don't care if the goy says doesn't have, you can't tell, because even the yain chadash itself tastes a little bit like anavim. So therefore it's considered min b'mino, and there's no remedy for it, says Abaye.
Cracked grapes or
Cracked grapes, yeah. This is cracked grapes.
not whole grapes?
No. Right? So says the Gemara, Rava says it's going to be b'noten tam. But Rava amar b'noten tam, because Rava holds we go after the name. This guy is called wine. That one is called grapes. That's min b'sheino mino. It's considered not its kind, and because it's not its kind, it's mutar. But if it's not, if you taste it and it doesn't taste, mutar. You can't tell. So let's just finish this. Abaye amar b'mashu batar tamas. Abaye who says it b'mashu is because he holds min b'mino, min b'sheino mino. We follow the taste, not the name. Idi ve'edi chatamahu, and both of them are the same taste in fresh wine, the fermenting grape juice, and therefore it's min b'mino. Or min b'mino b'mashu, and min b'mino the halacha is b'mashu, as we just saw in the Mishnah in Gimel Amud Aleph. Rava amar b'noten tam. Rava holds it's b'noten tam, because Batar Shmazlin and Rava holds that min b'mino and min b'sheino mino, we go after the name, and here the names are different. One of them is wine, one of them is considered grapes, and therefore v'hai shema lechud, this one has its own name, v'hai shema lechud, and this one has its own name. One is wine, one is grape, and havale min b'sheino mino, and hence it will be halachically considered a min b'sheino mino. It's something in it's not its own kind. It's a different kind mixed. And min b'sheino mino b'noten tam. Min b'sheino mino is asur only b'noten tam. Over here there's no noten tam because you cannot taste wine in it, and you just wash it well, says Rava, and you will be good to go. And this really opens the discussion for the rest of the Amud, which Be'ezrat Hashem we will continue and we will finish in the days to come.